Hey guys, angiespice here. Courier Volume 2 is getting closer to launch. Last year we launched Courier Volume 1. It was really successful, really exciting. So now Courier Volume 2 is getting ready for launch on Kickstarter. I will provide a link in the description below. You can follow that and just click to be notified of the launch when it happens. So I'm going to be making a few videos this time around. So I'm going to be working on this during this video. It's got the process of looking at a comic from an editing point of view, seeing that the pages weren't really flowing the way I wanted, so I decided to extend a certain scene so that it feels a double page spread rather than just being on the end of another scene sharing the double page spread in a comic. So I do tackle that in this video and extend that scene. Yeah, so enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and see you around the traps. Enjoy the video.
Angie here. This is going to be my process of creating the alternate ending for Courier Volume 2. Here's a page that I had originally drawn for the alternate ending, which was the start of a scene, and then the way that the pages were, it wasn't really enough to establish the final page, the ending that I anticipated for it. In this video, I'm going to show you how I took the one page, the single page, and turned it into a double page to lead up to the final page turn, which will be page left. So here you can see I've taken the previous page and I've stretched it out and I've drawn in the missing panels to flesh out the story a little more and create it so that it works in a double page format rather than just a single page. So this is the alternate ending, and I don't really want to spoil anything before I release the book because the original book obviously doesn't have this ending, but originally it was just the single page on the page right for this ending, for this scene, and the page prior to that was a different scene. So it was a little bit mixed. I've made enough comics now to know that I should probably keep things a bit more to the double page spread, but it just so happened that it's hard to think about everything when you're making comics, especially when you're doing it on your own, which is the benefit, I guess, working with a publisher. But even still, it's very easy to make an error like that where you can make something flow a lot nicer. The benefits of having an editor but anyway, that's beside the point. So here you can see where I've further fleshed out the story. Geraldine Barker, she spots a thylacine outside and she runs after it. But in this double page spread, I've established her new role a bit more. She's now working in the office, whereas before she was working as a courier out and about. So this kind of establishes her new job and her new role. These are some of my first pencils for the page. So for this final ending, for all the panels that you just saw that were in the blue, I'm drawing them now on the one page, but I'm going to cut and paste them into the software to make them match up to the missing panels. So by this stage, I would have already done all the layouts of the individual panels, even though the final isn't going to be like this. Obviously, I'm going to cut and paste. So as you can see, there's my electric eraser. I'm just trying to be as accurate as possible and not really have too many lines around that aren't really describing or helping me in any way with the mapping of the drawing. There's a center line. So this character is called Henry. He's not in Courier, The Adventures of Geraldine Barker. He's in a Hobart Rhapsody, and he is the rival of Geraldine in the office. He wants her position as editor. Alright, and now I'm filling in some other characters. So in this panel, Geraldine is running through the office to get downstairs and see the tiger that is down below on the streets. Yeah, unfortunately, this camera that I used isn't very good quality. It's a very old school camera, so it is quite fuzzy resolution. But going forward, I think I'll just record stuff on my phone to get a crisp resolution. So this is something that I do that I probably shouldn't. I bunch up, especially if I'm going to do layouts on the computer. I bunch up a lot of panels together, and the pages do get a little crowded. Something I don't recommend. I recommend allowing as much space as possible on the pages. Also, this paper I'm using is low-grade Copic paper. I'm using it because at the moment I don't have anything else to use. I used up all my good stuff. I don't like wasting though, so I'm using a low-grade Copic paper. It's fine. It's just a little more difficult to work with for the pencil work. Things are a bit less crisp, like the resolution, and it doesn't give as much as well. I'm also usually not this careful drawing, but I think because I don't think I've drawn traditionally in a while after working on a lot of digital stuff recently, I was a little bit cautious. Obviously I prefer to work traditionally. Working digitally can be easier in some respects, but there's a lot less magic. So here I am deciding where to put the folds of the clothing. Something I need to work on. All right, inking. So this is probably going to be a bit easier for you to see with this resolution. So I like to use nibs. I use brushes and markers as well, but I prefer to use nibs. I just feel like I get more control and variety with the thickness and thinness of lines. They are a bit more, what's the word, sturdy. They're harder to use when it comes to making rounded lines. This is actually just a general nib, but I prefer to use titanium. They're a little bit more flexible and you can get more diverse lines, but there's a little bit less control. I kind of prefer the titanium nibs, but they're very expensive. I've used a lot of titanium nibs for A Who About Rhapsody. It's up on Webtoon and I will release it soon too. But unfortunately I haven't released it physically yet, but that's all going to change very soon. This paper that I'm using is A3 and normally I work at B4, which is slightly smaller. It's in between A3 and A4. So for me it's just big enough that I can have a bit more space and freedom, but not too big. A3 can be just a little bit too big for my scale awareness sometimes. It takes a bit more effort, especially if I'm drawing like one big long figure. I usually get the proportions wrong. And that's another benefit of working digitally, is that you can scale things and check things all the time. With traditional, you need a bit more work. You need to use the mirror a lot more and get up and distance yourself from your art. And also, I'm probably going to make videos a bit shorter, a bit better in the future if I keep doing this. I just wanted to try something new and let you guys see a bit of my process of Courier Volume 2. So this is the original alternate ending. This page is part of it that I originally had written or thought of, at least, for Courier. Although I didn't use it, I went with something different because I felt a bit uncomfortable with the ending I had in mind. I thought it was a little tacky, but I thought, you know, for this collected edition of Volume 2, which includes issues 4, 5 and 6 of the series, I thought it would be nice to have the original ending just as something different. Yeah, see, now I'm drawing Geraldine's arm reaching. That's probably a nicer scale for me to work at to really show you the strength of the nib that I'm using. It's really good for straight lines. It's a G-Nib, so it's better for longer, straighter lines. But it's not so great for smaller, finer details. I mean, you still can, but it's a little trickier. But I find I can get finer lines with this nib over even felt markers, even like the 0.1 ones. No, I can get a finer line with this. But you do have to have a sturdy paper. You can't just have any paper. You need to have some sort of semi-Bristol board, I think, with a nib. You can use just normal copy paper, and I have done that, but you've got to be very gentle. And usually the Manga Ink that you use with a nib it bleeds a little more in the copy paper. It looks cool though, if you like that effect, but sometimes it can bleed a little too much. Actually, it did bleed a little bit for this paper too, because this paper is designed for alcohol markers. It's not really suitable for Manga Ink. Although the Manga Ink I use is pretty great for all kinds of papers. I think it's the Moon brand, if I remember, or maybe that's just the name of the ink. off the top of my head. It's by far one of the best inks I've used. It has dried up a bit during summer when it gets really hot, but it's been the most flexible and still really dark. And also works well with alcohol markers and inks or pencils or anything that you want to use with it. Okay, I'm up and I'm having a break here. So as you can probably see, I'm just starting off with the thickest lines first. So that's mostly the outlines, and then I'll aim to do finer lines later on. I just want to get all the more dominant lines in first. Yeah, so I use a ruler for straight lines. I was a bit sloppy there and I went straight through that character's hair. Whoops. So here I'm using a set square or triangle, whatever you want to call it. So this helps me line up parallel lines with the edge of the paper. So if you just want a dead straight line and you're in normal perspective, like 1 point or something, it's really handy just to get a really nice straight line. Okay, and here I'm inking in the final panel of the page. I think it's the final. It could be one under it actually. The running one. And you can see that I've inked in Henry, that character, in the foreground, and then I go from the foreground back, which really helps when you're working traditionally, because that way you can just tackle one layer at a time rather than things getting too messy. So I'll just end inking with the background. Sometimes I won't even draw in the background because it's just going to be too complicated. So what I do is I draw in the figure first in the foreground, and then I work my way back. It just seems to make the process a lot easier. Okay, so here you can see I'm actually starting to get a bit more comfortable with inking again, because I don't think I'd inked in a while. And that's the thing about comics too. You got to warm up into it. If you haven't done any drawing, even for me, like I draw all the time, but I haven't been drawing traditionally. It's a little bit awkward when you haven't done it in a while, because I've been editing a lot recently, and it takes usually a page or two to get back into the right rhythm or fitness, and you've got to sort of warm up to it. A lot of comic creators actually start by creating maybe a middle page first and then go to the first page when they're a bit more warmed up, which is something I should probably do too, but I actually don't do it. Another thing is that when you're working traditionally, you're going to make a lot of errors that you probably don't have time to fix, like scaling and perspective. Or not perspective per se, but here you can see Geraldine's maybe a little bit too big. I need to sort of shrink her down. I don't know if I actually ended up doing that in the digital editing, but sometimes it doesn't really matter. You can't be perfect. You don't have time to be perfect. Now I'm starting with the other employee in the office in the background there behind Geraldine. And they're all looking shocked because Geraldine's rushing around. She's usually nonchalant about everything. Doesn't really give a damn. Yeah, I made a bit of an error there with the face of that employee. I changed it because she looks a bit angry there. So I go over it again with the expression I want, and I edit the other lines out later on. And here's the final scan of the inks. As you can see, there's a few smudges that were accidental, but it looks pretty clear. I'm pretty happy with that. I've got numbers on the panel so I know which order they're meant to be in, because here I've kind of just fit them together so I could make the most use out of the page, but I have numbered them in the right order that they appear. I've got a bit of overlapping, which is a bad habit. There you can see the Thylacines legs are overlapping with Geraldine in that panel where she's reaching for the camera case that she has, and although I can edit it out, sometimes it means that I miss a piece that I should have drawn, or it just makes it a bit messier editing. So that's something I've got to work on, leaving more space and maybe even drawing up the squares again. The reason why I don't draw up the squares though in traditional format, well, I used to, but I stopped because you can just easily make a square in digital and then crop the image the way you like. And now it's for the Copic coloring. So yeah, Copics, kind of love and hate them. I hate them because they're so expensive and it's taken me a very long time to get any good at them. I used to be appalling at with them because I didn't know about paper. I didn't know about being gentle with them and, you know, just slowly building up gradients. This pen I'm using here, or the green one I was using, is running out, so it looks a bit patchy. I think the main thing I've learned of Copics is less is more. So if you leave more whites, you're going to get a nicer render. And if you color it too much, if you color flats, make them as flat as can be, like use straight flats. But I think Copics work the best when you leave a lot of white. So you kind of use them like a toner rather than a color. That's really helped me anyway. They're still quite difficult to use. Like I don't know how some people draw really fine with them because the tips are a little bit big, but yeah, it's been a learning curve. But like I said, this Copic paper is not the best quality, so I'm pretty happy with this. I like to stick to the same colors just so it's easier for me to manage the refills. I don't really use Copic Markers much though because of that, so I've been pretty good. I was very upset when Copic changed the refill to double the price for half the mills. Was a bit stingy and a bit of a shame because, you know, they just wanted to make more money, clearly. They take a lot of patience to use, and I'm someone that just wants to slip, slap, slop color. I really like using ink, actually, but I don't have as many colors, and gouaches and even pencil are nice, but the thing about Copic is that you do get that really bold color that you can work with. Yeah, see there how I'm leaving a little bit of white around that guy's face? That's because I want to show that there's a bit of depth. Oh, what? I did that around his tail. Usually I'd leave a bit of white around the foreground, the forefigure, just so you can see that there's a bit of depth. But I think I just was on autopilot there. Yeah, Geraldine has a lot of grey jacket there. I've actually gotten a lot better at using Copics, but anything that takes patience is very annoying for me when it comes to colour. But no, I was pretty happy with that. But I recommend getting the best paper you can for Copics because it really does make a massive difference. Okay. Oh yeah, that's my glove. I use a glove while colouring Copic because a lot of the ink gets stuck on your hand and then it smudges the rest of the image. So I do use a glove on my right hand. And I'm just slapping on more colour. So this is the final traditional colour of the page. Now I've scanned it in, and this is a time lapse of my process of replacing the original thumbnails with the new panels, and it's very fast. It's just the way Clip Studio does it, and it's showing me now laying out a bit of the text as well, and then filling in a few of the blemishes and just final touches I wanted to add to the art. Some of it's very hard to watch because it's very fine things that I've missed or little blemishes that I just want to edit out. Also, I might do, I'm going to do some rescaling if necessary. Yeah, just cleaning up a bit of the art. Yes, that's about it. I know this video was very rough. I'm new to this, well, doing it for this thing anyway. So I'm gonna do some clearer, I've got some clearer footage already that I'm gonna maybe upload. I'll upload that cleaner footage, but thanks for giving it a go. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear it. I'm probably gonna make shorter videos with more specific processes of making the comic. But yeah, if you're interested in my Kickstarter, it is coming up mid-year. You can type in Google search or wherever you search Courier, The Adventures of Geraldine Barker Volume 2, and you can click the notify button to keep updated when it launches. But thanks again for watching and take care. All right, bye.